I walked through my front door hearing my shoes thud against the hard wooden floor. No one was in the living room, and the TV was off, which was unlikely. I did get home late, so I walked into the kitchen expecting my mom, dad, and 2 siblings eating dinner, but no one was there. The house was so silent, and I wouldn't be surprised if you heard dust mites crawling along the floor. I walked up my creaky stairs expecting to hear my brother playing games, and my sister calling her friends, but once again, it was silent. I felt an empty feeling in my stomach, as if my organs disappeared. My hands shook and I was sweating, and I held my hand on my brother's doorknob. I slowly opened the door to see his room empty, and the lights out. The only thing that was in the room was a note on the floor saying, "Lights out." I woke up in my bed to my alarm clock shouting at me. I realized everything was a stupid dream, so I ignored it and got ready for school. After school, I had a really long day at school. I walked into my house and was ready to have a nice nap until my mom was slouched outside my brother's room, crying. I walked up to her confused. "Mom, what happened?" I asked her, kinda shocked. "Your brother, he's disappeared into thin air. The police still haven't found a trace of him. His room was empty apart from a note that read 'Lights out.' I'm not sure what happened, but his light bulb was smashed up on the floor covering the note," she said, sobbing between words. I thought to myself, I had that exact dream, but no light bulb. I told my mom about my dream, and she informed the police. They told us that if I had a similar dream, let them know. We stayed at my nana's that night as the police needed the house for investigations. I couldn't sleep. I was tossing and turning for hours. It was around 4 a.m. when I finally fell asleep because I realized that if I didn't sleep I wouldn't dream and maybe I could be warned again. I had no dream last night and my mom let us stay off of school. Obviously, we were all crying the whole day and my mom popped over to our home to ask the police about updates, but there was nothing and they had pretty much no evidence, as everything in his full room was now gone and turned into an empty room. 2 days later, my mom received a call from the officers at my house. "We have absolutely no evidence, so we have called pro detectives from around the world to give the room and house a deep search," the police said. My mom appreciated their efforts and went off the phone. Suddenly, I remembered a key memory. Our father went missing 3 years ago on the exact day our brother went missing, I said as my heart sank. "This has to be linked," I said. My mom looked up at me and just stared for a minute. She was frozen. It was like she was in a big block of ice. "And your father's light bulb in his room went missing too." My mom rang the police and told them everything. This made everything harder. A week later, it had been a week since the detectives came and still nothing has been found. I was still not sleeping much as I was up most of the night trying to figure out what happened. That dream replaying in my head, I was looking for clues in it. Then I drifted off and another dream came up. I walked into my brother's room and a picture was on the wall, him and our father. In his original room there was a separate picture of him and a separate one of our father. In my dream, I was staring at the picture for a while, then it clicked. Dad and my brother were together. It must be. They were separate originally, but now they're together. I woke up, crying. I ran to my mother and told her everything. "I hope Dad's been alive this whole time. You know what it means if he wasn't." I cried. "I hope so too." My mom and Nana said, "I'm the oldest between the two, my sister being the youngest." My sister barely understood what was even happening, but kinda did. We didn't tell her about my dream because we didn't want to land too much more stress onto her. We let the police know as soon as my mom found out, which was like 4 a.m. The police guessed I had dreams every week, so they suggested I tried to sleep each night at least a little just in case I miss important information. Nothing really happened between the dreamless week and on the week mark I had another dream. This one was big information. I walked into the house and the floorboards were coming up. When they came completely off, there was a picture of my dad carved into metal. The metal was in the ground, barely visible, and I dug it up with a shovel, revealing a hole in the ground. It started off square-sized, then about a meter down it was huge. I dug up the meter with my shovel, revealing a long pit, so I tied rope on metal and climbed down. Then my feet touched the dry mud at the bottom. There were bugs everywhere. Then I saw a line in the wall about the size of the metal picture of my dad. So after hard work I climbed all the way up, got the picture, and climbed all the way down. I put the picture in the line carved into the mud, and the whole wall fell down. I started walking into the cave. Then I woke up. I ran so fast into my mom's room and told her everything, surprised I remembered it all. I thought this was crazy, as there couldn't be a whole cave under my house. My mom told the police everything, and they wrote it all down, and even though it was 5 a.m., they got to work. They told us they would contact us in about an hour and let us know everything going on. The police called us about 1 hour and 30 minutes later, and they had finished everything already. As they did it rapidly, they told us that at the end of the cave was an address. It was an hour drive, so the police drove and took helicopters, armed SWAT teams, normal police, and the special detectives. They told us not to come as it could be a trap or dangerous. They said they would contact us when they're there and when they're leaving. They also told us that if they find anything important, they would show us the body cam videos. If possible, they let us know they arrived and said they might take long as they're going to get as much info as possible. After a very long wait, we got a knock at our door. It was the police with my brother, but not my dad. My mom ran so fast and tried to hug my brother, but he revealed a knife wound. The police explained everything. My dad ran away after thinking he was a demon. He favorited my brother for no exact reason. After 2 years, he found out he was a shadow demon and wanted to raise a demon family. He wanted to steal my brother, but he could only travel in darkness, or he would experience extreme pain. He planned out everything over the remaining year he was missing. He then came to the house while everyone was at school, and my mom was at work. I was in 6th form, and my brother was in high school. My sister was in first school. My brother finished an hour earlier than me and my sister, as he starts earlier. The second everyone left the house, my dad took everything out of my brother's room and put it in a huge van. When my brother got home from school, he took him the second he stepped through the door, spraying some sort of sleeping gas in his face. He then took him to a cabin and set him a room up. He stored his own blood in a jar, experimenting on it, trying to turn my brother into a demon. He stabbed my brother just to inject blood into him. The transfer didn't work, so my dad was carrying out more experiments, trying to force my brother to pray to the devil. After all of this, the police saved my brother and had to force the information out of my dad. It was a straight-up execution for my dad, and my brother was going to the hospital for checkups, but after a week he was home and safe. We moved back in after a month of staying with my nana, double-checking the house was safe. The police still don't know how I got my dreams, and they don't know how the cave under my house was built or anything.